You're listening to an Ono Media podcast.
Good morning, and thanks for joining me for Rise and Crime, your morning caffeine hit all about crime. I'm Mama Jules, and we have to cover this case out of California with the rapper named David. Now, several of you requested this case, and I will tell you ahead of time, I recorded this podcast 2 days ago. I traveled to Arizona this weekend to celebrate my daughter's upcoming birth of her baby, so the details I'm providing were current as of Friday. I will bring any updates to you in the next podcast. All right, let's get into it. We are going to work our way backwards from the time of the gruesome discovery of a decomposing human body in a black Tesla that was abandoned in a tow yard in Hollywood. Now, employees of the business named Hollywood Tow had called police concerned about a foul odor coming from the car. Now, those same employees, they had towed the car 2 days earlier. The Tesla had been reported abandoned on a Los Angeles street, and Hollywood Tow went and got it, and now their impound yard was not smelling great. When authorities popped the front trunk of the Tesla, they found the decomposing female body dressed in a tube top, black leggings, a yellow metal bracelet, and metal stud earrings. She was small in stature, roughly about 5 feet 1 inch tall, and she had beautiful wavy black hair. One lone tattoo inked on her right index finger had 4 letters, SHHH, like shh. Investigators didn't know who their female victim was, but they did know who the Tesla belonged to, 20-year-old David Anthony Burke, better known professionally as David, and that's spelled D4VD. Now, David is a rapper. Like, his music's explained it several different ways. It's obviously not music I would listen to, but he is like a musician, and some people call him a rapper. Okay. He first went viral on TikTok, where he has about 3.8 million followers. He released a debut album in April, and he's currently touring, or was currently touring, with his Withered tour. David has multiple vehicles. The black Tesla, it's just one of them. And when you're young and you're wealthy, you share that wealth. David pretty much lets everyone drive his cars. And I don't know, the word that came to mind is leech, but maybe it's softer than that. I don't know, maybe that's too strong of a word. People are taking advantage of his wealth. So the obvious questions here. How long had the Tesla been abandoned? And when did this decomposing body find its way into the trunk of that Tesla? Now, sources are mixed on the first question. The car had Texas plates, and neighbors who noticed the car in the Hollywood Hills said the car had been there for about a month. However, law enforcement officials reported to the Los Angeles Times that the car had been sitting abandoned for just about a week. All right, so we don't have an answer there. What about the girl in the Tesla that was found dead on September 8th? Well, on Wednesday, authorities publicly identified the victim as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas. She's an Inland Empire resident who was reported missing clear back in April of 2024. You heard that right. She's been missing for a year and 3 months. That term missing is, at least according to the family. They had missing posters and everything for her, but it seems Celeste has been living a life. Authorities on Wednesday said the case is being treated as a homicide, but they do not currently have a cause of death. They are awaiting further testing of the body before determining how she died. Now, it is reported that Celeste had run away. Clear back. She had run away several times. She had returned home and then run away again. This had happened at least 2 times before eventually running away in April of 2024. Relatives told ABC 30 that Celeste had phoned family in late May of last year, but that was the last time they had spoken with her. Family members also said they were aware that Celeste knew and associated with a David, and her mother even said she knew Celeste had a boyfriend named David. Well, our David in this story, the owner of the Tesla, he's based out of Houston, Texas, and the Tesla had Texas plates. Now, the family in those interviews also revealed that Celeste birthday is September 7th. I want you to remember, she was found on the 8th in a state of decomposition, which means she most likely died when she was still 14 years old. Celeste was wrapped in a bag in the trunk of the Tesla that had been first abandoned in the Hollywood Hills, like I said. And the geography of that abandoned Tesla, and also interviews with the investigators from people who saw the Tesla, well, that led to a search of a home on the street where the car was picked up by Hollywood Tow. We got to be clear here. Investigators are being, I guess, coy. They're keeping things close to their chest. They aren't saying the search was necessarily connected to the Tesla owned by David and also the death of Celeste. But yeah, that home was searched and it was right there where the car was abandoned. And it seems the standard evidence was recovered in the search. We've got electronics and computers and potentially surveillance video. TMZ is reporting that investigators carried out electronics and several evidence bags. TMZ is also reporting the home belonged to David, even though, like I said, at the time of the recording, investigators were being tight-lipped about, why this house. And when I say the home belonged to David, it was like in a second-hand way. The rental agreement seems to be inked by David's manager, but David was using the home as his California residence, and lots of other people were in and out of that house. TMZ says the search took 12 hours and that investigators were searching specifically for signs of blood. So, how linked are these two, David and Celeste? Well, they have video gamed together. Those videos have resurfaced, and they have matching tattoos. David also has the shh tattoo on his finger, but we don't need to just automatically read into that because Rihanna has that tattoo, so does Lindsay Lohan and Lily Allen. It's a pretty popular tattoo. Now, it is a link, but it might not be as strong or unbreakable as we want to think it is. The timing of the tattoo is important, though. Celeste's family knew about her tattoo, but she's been missing for more than a year. Maybe they saw it in pictures, because I'm seeing pictures crop up all over on X of her and David. So Celeste had pictures out there. Now, I want to warn everybody, just because I'm seeing those pictures doesn't mean they're real. AI is crazy right now. But there are pics out there, and maybe the family saw the tattoo in those pics. Here's the deal. It seems David didn't have the tattoo until just a couple of weeks ago. His tattoo is new. And since we're just trying to piece things together here, could the shh be about their relationship? If the two were romantically linked, which is what everyone in the gaming world and music world are saying, then the shh could have been about their age difference. She was 14 years old, and he's 20 years old. All right, I just realized something. She went missing when she was 13 years old. And he would have been 19, and they would have been linked together that long. Okay, that whole thing, that's just a theory. On Friday, a former teacher of Celeste, who taught her at Lakeland Village Middle School, well, he was seen speaking in a video on TikTok. Now, here's what he said in that video.
That's her in my classroom in front of this poster right here. Okay, hold up, I got another one. Because I got a picture on TMZ of this other kid exchanging stuff with the rapper who we alleged did this stuff. Hold on a second, because he's also in my classroom.
Wait, how long ago was this?
We all just found out yesterday who it was, but she's been missing since I taught her. So when I taught her, she met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home. She was gone for like a month. The cops found her in Hollywood, brought her back to our school. She came back to our school, kind of told people this story. She disappeared again in May of that year, May of 2024. That's when her friends told me what happened, that it was this rapper. And then I found out yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car, cut into pieces. You want to know how they met? I feel like I just said it. Social media.
Again, this is not reported from the authorities, so we have to take it with some level of caution. It could totally be accurate, but it could be inflated as well. When the news broke, fans and true crime followers began scouring David's massive digital treasure trove. It seems David has a song, an unreleased track that mentions a girl named Celeste, and she's mentioned twice in that song. And now that we've gone this far in the story, you're probably like, Mama Jules, where's David? Did they arrest him? The answer is no. He has been questioned, and the authorities are saying he is cooperating with the investigation. David has people in and out of his home in Hollywood. He has a history of allowing just about anybody to drive his cars because he has multiple cars. And David's been busy. He was prepping for his tour and had events scheduled. In fact, he canceled his events on Wednesday and Friday. And then Friday morning, he announced he is canceling all of his U.S. tour stops. And pretty much most online chatter is that this guy is guilty. But we'll just have to wait for LA authorities to do their thing. I've covered other high-profile cases in LA. Investigators go slow. So we could be in for the long haul here. Celeste's family has made a GoFundMe and wrote this in the description field. Celeste was a beloved daughter, sister, cousin, and friend. Her family is heartbroken and devastated by this tragic loss. They are seeking help to lay her body to rest. And then they go on and ask for donations. Now, I'll keep you updated. If you follow this case, let me know what you think in the comments. And you can share rumors, just clarify that they are rumors. We do our best here to share facts, and when we do speculate, make sure we clarify it's speculation. Now to the disturbing case out of Mississippi that has many on a college campus not quite believing the reported investigation findings in the death of one college student. And then others are not believing that 2 hanging deaths occurred on the same day in the same area. Okay, let's break it all down. On Monday at about 7 a.m., the body of 21-year-old Trey Reed was found hanging from a tree on the campus of Delta State University. That's a university in Cleveland, Mississippi. DSU is a small Division II college with an enrollment of about 2,600 students. When Trey was found near the student pickleball courts, he had no lacerations, no contusions, no compound fractures, so no broken bones. He didn't seem to have suffered any sort of assault. It was clear at the time to investigators that Trey had died sometime on Sunday. So that reads at least 7 hours earlier than when his body was found. And in a state with the violent history that Mississippi is all too scarred from, emotions flared with suspicion of the state-run autopsy that was being conducted on Trey. Before the results of the autopsy were even revealed, Trey's clearly devastated family was asking for an independent autopsy. They also implored police to show them any security camera footage of the area and any other video evidence they may have gathered during the early hours of the investigation. Now, by Wednesday, authorities were stating they couldn't help the family. Not because the videos didn't exist. There are videos, but they said the investigation was still ongoing and that when the team completes the investigation, the videos will be shared. Now, during that press conference on Wednesday, authorities also stated that Trey's death was an isolated incident and that there was no active threat to students on campus. DSU's Director of Public Safety also promised in the presser that the autopsy results would be available in about 24 hours. And he was right. Those results were released on Thursday afternoon, and the Mississippi State Medical Examiner concluded that Trey died by suicide. The ME said the results of the toxicology testing will not be available for several weeks. That's not surprising. And in the announcement, he also clarified that all the evidentiary files in Trey's case have been shared with the FBI and federal prosecutors. Now, U.S. Representative of Mississippi, Benny Thompson, had called for the FBI to investigate. That happened just hours after Trey's body was found. Now, some confusion has been introduced to the case because the family is telling media sources that they were initially informed that Trey was found dead in his dorm room in his bed. But then they were later told that he had been found hanging in the tree on campus. After all of this turmoil, Trey's family retained civil rights and personal injury attorney Ben Crump. Now, that's a familiar voice of all cases in racially motivated criminal activity. Now, part of the issue here is that social media has run wild sharing concepts like Trey having 2 broken legs when he was found. Other social media posts have said that investigators determined Trey died from suicide and told the family as much even before the autopsy was completed. Now, DSU's president, Daniel Ennis, has acknowledged that Trey's death has stirred many emotions on campus and in the community and in the nation. He then promised to honor both the facts and the emotions in the case. Attorney Crump on Friday said that Colin Kaepernick's foundation, titled Know Your Rights Camp Autopsy Initiative, well, they're going to cover the cost of the independent autopsy. When I took the podcast to production, no source material was reporting that video evidence had been shared with the family. All right, so we have that hanging death on DSU campus with some answers and then still some questions. What about the other hanging death? Well, on the same day, the body of Cody Zakatis was found hanging in a wooded area near the Ameristar Casino in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And according to the Warren County coroner, Cody had been living in the wooded area while experiencing homelessness. Cody was suffering with drug addiction, this according to his mother, and preliminary investigation didn't indicate any foul play, but Cody's body has been transferred to the state crime lab for an autopsy to be performed. Again, the rumor mill is what most people heard about Cody's case as a potential companion crime to Trey's case. The two have zero identifiable connections other than the same day and same potential manner of death. Now, a viral TikTok that has since been removed due to its inflammatory and erroneous information, well, it went viral about the death of the 2 men, saying Trey's death was a modern day lynching and that the small town of Cleveland is a racially crime-ridden city. All right, you guys, stats just don't back that up. I'm taking all of this from an AP article. It's actually a relatively safe, smaller city of about 10,000 people, and the campus is nearly divided equally on race lines. It's about half black, half white, and most students report they feel safe on campus. Now, that content creator of that viral video, well, he also claimed he was a former student. I'm sure to maybe give his video credibility. However, that wasn't true either. I spend time on TikTok. I love my favorite creators, but we sure need to be better as viewers at disseminating the information and storytelling we find on that platform. Now, when I went to production, an obituary has yet to be made available about Trey. Also, the GoFundMe doesn't even talk about Trey, which kind of makes me sad. The description on the GoFundMe is about the justice they're going to get by having an independent autopsy done. It's kind of weird. He clearly has family who love him. They're all over in the news. I just wish I could have learned more about Trey. Now, as a reminder, if you know anyone who is suffering emotional distress or mental health challenges, you can text or call 988 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we have a conclusion to a murder investigation out of Jack, Texas, where a freak accident followed by poor decision-making has left a man facing prison time. Now, we have to head back to December of 2023, where horror unfolded at a teen party being held in the backyard of a home. Now, a group of kids were partying, and this included underage drinking. And at the get-together, 17-year-old Madison Lewis was there hanging out with friends. In the backyard was a round metal frame, kind of like a barrel, and the kids had a fire burning inside that barrel. The fire was dwindling, which led to then 23-year-old Sebastian Jonathan Lewis pouring gasoline on the fire in hopes to, quote, make it bigger. When the gasoline and the flames collided, the inferno plumed outward, and Madison, who was standing nearby, was engulfed in the explosion. Her hair and clothing immediately caught fire. Partygoers attempted to extinguish the flames, but unfortunately, that's all they did for a bit because they were too scared at first to call 911 since the party was full of illegal drinking. Now, some friends opted to drive Madison to the hospital. I'm guessing they were hoping to protect those left behind at the party, and maybe they were trying to either leave or dispose of the drinking evidence. So when Madison was finally dropped off at the hospital, at least 85% of her body was just burned flesh. Doctors immediately placed Madison in a medically induced coma. The next 2 weeks were filled with emergency surgeries for skin grafting and attempts at skin regrowth processes. Doctors were telling her family that Madison, if she survived, would be in the burn unit for at least a year. But when you're burned like this, 4/5 of your body in trauma, internal organs begin to shut down. And by January 7th, Madison's body couldn't fight any longer. In a post to a Facebook page dedicated to her fight, Madison's friend wrote the following: Madison put up one hell of a fight, but her precious body was so tired. The good Lord called her home this morning at 1:41, surrounded by family. Now, one day after her death, Sebastian was charged with manslaughter. Well, after nearly 2 years of court hearings, some of that time spent behind bars before he was able to bond out, Sebastian has entered an open plea of guilty. Okay, what that means is there is not a plea agreement on the table. And under Texas law, Sebastian could face a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. Source material is leading me to believe that this was a little unexpected, but maybe that's just the reporting. A sentencing date has yet to be determined. Madison's mother had a daughter named Destiny pass away a year before Madison. In her obituary, Madison was remembered as a loving sister who spent hours on the phone with her sister Sanaya. She was on the Jacksboro High School cheer squad, and she also enjoyed powerlifting. I really hope this guilty plea is helping Madison's family. And you guys, I have an update to the Travis Decker manhunt out of Chelan County, Washington. Remember, back on June 2nd, the suffocated bodies of 9-year-old Peyton, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia were found at Rock Island Campground in Chelan County. The 3 beautiful girls were daughters of Travis Decker and Whitney Decker. Whitney and Travis had been a couple since 2015, but had divorced in 2022 due to Whitney just searching for a healthier home life amid Travis's struggles with mental health. Travis, who had served in the military, was receiving mental health on and off, but the stability had yet to be achieved. In September of 2024, a parenting plan was filed in the Chelan County Superior Court. This limited Travis's alone time with his 3 daughters. Travis was granted 3 hours on Fridays and 8 hours every other weekend, all of this under the precursor that he would remain in Wenatchee Valley with the girls when he was visiting with them. The filing also requested that Travis undergo anger management counseling and domestic violence evaluations. If Travis chose to not submit to the counseling and evaluations, Whitney could seek to change the parenting plan. Well, Travis and Whitney had been trying to peacefully work through the new custody arrangement when on May 30th of this year, Travis picked up the girls from Whitney's home. And remember, Travis is supposed to have them for 3 hours on a Friday. Well, Whitney called authorities at 9:45 that night when Travis had not returned with her daughters. Wenatchee police said Whitney had informed them she was concerned about Travis's mental health, and that is why she didn't want to wait any longer to report the girls missing. Travis had been living in his truck, and that meant there really wasn't a place where Whitney or authorities could go to when they began searching for the girls. The next day, Wenatchee Police Department released an endangered missing person alert. Okay, that's different than an Amber Alert. Police felt the criteria for an Amber Alert had not been met, so the public wasn't universally informed. That part of this case has caused many frustrations when hindsight is 2020. Now, Saturday turned into Sunday, and the girls were still missing. Then Monday rolled around, and that's when Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia were found killed in the campground. Travis's truck was located nearby. 2 bloody handprints on or near the truck were found, and then also food and car seats, a wallet and blankets. All of those things were found either in the truck or outside of the truck. But there was no Travis. And for the last 3.5 months, search after search, possible lead after possible lead, ended up yielding no results. During those 3 months, Whitney confided in her lawyer, who then shared the information with the public, that Whitney believed Travis had used his honed and developed skills to find an out of the way place and end his life. On Thursday, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office said in a statement that human remains were found in a wooded area in Leavenworth, Washington. Leavenworth is about 25 miles north from the girl's home. Despite not having DNA confirmation, the sheriff's office felt confident that the remains likely belong to Travis Decker. Maybe it's the clothes. Maybe he left a note. I'm sure we'll learn later exactly why they think that, but authorities are saying it's Travis. May the best be shown to Whitney. Her world has been stolen. A family friend told reporters at a vigil for the girls that these 3 girls were the kind of humans that everyone wanted in their lives. She said they were cherished, not just by family, but by their entire circle of people who had watched them grow, perform, learn, and love. Also, hopefully Travis's family finds peace in knowing the last chapter of his story. And just a few quick comments about Thursday's episode. To all of you who sent love and support to my friend Michael and his son Connor, thank you. I also appreciated those who didn't quite agree with the way that I handled my coverage of Charlie Kirk's murder. Several of you were very controlled and mature in your responses, and that's exactly how we should handle our disagreements. So thank you for sharing. And I'm sure if you stick around, we will have many things we agree upon in the future, and probably some things in the future that we don't agree upon. We can still be here together. And real quickly, I had a court reporter reach out from Florida. She corrected me and said that our 15-year-old victim that I called Jay, who was sexually abused by his stepmother, well, she said he would have been allowed to testify in a private setting. If that is accurate, that is how it should be. I was taking my information from sourced material, and I did find that answer in 2 different outlets. But as we've learned, sometimes outlets aren't always correct. So thank you for letting me know, Tanya. I really hope that's how Florida handles it. And of course, so many of you were outraged by that case, especially with the father's initial reaction to his son. I would recommend this. If you're so inclined, write emails to your state legislators. Many states have deplorable sentencing structures for child sex abuse. That is one option you have to hopefully change things. And then on a personal note, and this is for animal lovers, and if you aren't one, just shut off the podcast here. Okay, my sweet daughter Marley, who works here at Ono Media, I've talked about her a few times. Well, she had to put down her Princess Kitty Sugar today. I call her Princess Kitty because she would strut around the house like she's royalty. She was petite and quiet and demure. She was only a little over 2 years old, but her kidneys failed her early in her feline life. If you're so inclined, you could just drop Marley a DM, just wishing her well. You could also leave a comment here. We love our animals here at Ono Media, and I know it would brighten her day to hear from you. And like I said, you don't have to do it publicly. You can send a DM. I'm not trying to get traction on a podcast or a video, so don't accuse me of that. I just want to show love to my sweet little baby girl. All right, that's your Monday episode of Rise and Crime. Thank you for being here. Please share an episode with a friend. Tell somebody about Rise and Crime or the other Ono Media podcasts, Murder with My Husband and Into the Dark. And keep sending me your case suggestions. 2 of the cases today came from case suggestions, so thank you for sending those in. We love 5-star reviews and positive comments here, so please feel free to do that. And also like and follow on all of our social media accounts and YouTube accounts. You can join me again on Thursday for more morning crime news. I'm Mama Jules, and keep safe out there.